Psalm chapter 2 is a royal psalm that is credited to David by the New Testament, Acts chapter 4 verse 25. The psalm expresses amazement that cultures and governments of earth would try to ignore God and warns that the consequences of doing so will be dire. The psalm begins by asking why the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain against the Lord and His anointed. The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and His anointed, saying, "Let us break their chains and throw off their shackles." The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. He rebukes them in His anger and terrifies them in His wrath, saying, "I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain." The psalm then shifts to the voice of the Lord's anointed, who declares the decree of the Lord, "You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with a rod of iron. You will dash them to pieces like pottery." The psalm concludes with a warning to the kings and rulers of the earth to be wise and serve the Lord with fear, rejoicing with trembling. They are instructed to kiss His Son, or He will be angry and their way will lead to destruction. Blessed are all who take refuge in Him. The life lesson from Psalm chapter 2 is that it is foolish for people or nations to try to ignore or oppose God. Instead, they should serve Him with fear and reverence. Those who take refuge in Him are blessed. You can apply the teachings of Psalm chapter 2 to your life by recognizing the sovereignty of God and serving Him with fear and reverence. This means acknowledging that He is the ultimate authority and that it is foolish to try to ignore or oppose Him. You can also apply the teachings of Psalm chapter 2 by taking refuge in God. The psalm concludes with the statement that, "Blessed are all who take refuge in Him." This means trusting in God's protection and guidance, even in difficult times. Additionally, you can apply the teachings of Psalm chapter 2 by being mindful of the consequences of ignoring or opposing God. The psalm warns that those who do so will face His anger and wrath. By serving God with fear and reverence, you can avoid these consequences and experience His blessings. Serving God with fear and reverence means acknowledging His sovereignty and authority and approaching Him with awe and respect. This can involve worshiping Him with a humble and reverent heart, obeying His commands, and seeking to please Him in all that you do. One way to serve God with fear and reverence is by studying His Word and applying its teachings to your life. This can involve reading the Bible regularly, meditating on its truths, and seeking to live according to its principles. Another way to serve God with fear and reverence is by participating in corporate worship with other believers. This can involve attending church services, singing hymns and songs of praise, praying together, and hearing the preaching of God's Word. Additionally, serving God with fear and reverence can involve living a life of obedience and submission to His will. This can involve seeking His guidance in all areas of your life, following His commands, and striving to please Him in all that you do. Share your faith with others. One way to serve God is by sharing your faith with others and telling them about the love of Jesus. This can involve sharing your testimony, inviting friends to church, or participating in outreach and evangelism efforts. Serve others. Another way to serve God is by serving others. This can involve volunteering at a local charity, helping out at your church, or simply being kind and helpful to those around you. Give generously. You can also serve God by giving generously of your time, talents, and resources. This can involve donating money to your church or a charity, using your skills and talents to help others, or simply being generous with your time and attention. Pray regularly. Prayer is an important way to serve God. You can pray for yourself, for others, and for the world. Prayer is a powerful way to connect with God and seek His guidance and direction. Live a godly life. Finally, you can serve God by living a godly life. This means striving to live according to His commands and principles, avoiding sin, and seeking to please Him in all that you do.